We always like to start with a parlay or a tease at the top. We've had a lot of success this year with this.
Yeah.
I think we've only gotten hit. I think we're 4-1 on these bigger bets. The one that we lost on was the Rams Chiefs tease in week 4 when the Cardinals beat the Rams.
Yes.
Which was a par. I can't remember if it was parlay or tease, but for the most part, we fit these. There's 2 that jump out to me. I think the Cowboys Patriots are a stay away. And in general, we should mention this might be a let's be careful out there, Michael Conrad Memorial Week this week, because if you look at the amount of money being bet, it's like everybody's on the Cowboys. Everybody's on the Chiefs. Everybody's on the
Rams.
The Rams and the Chargers. Not the Rams as much because I think the line's so high.
Yeah.
Everyone's on the Chargers.
So is that an indication that we zig when everyone zags and we scale it back a little bit this week?
It's a thing that makes me really nervous. Like, I like the Chargers. I haven't seen anyone pick the Ravens. They're banged up now. The Chargers are kind of a quote unquote hot team. It's +3. It's Baltimore. I feel like it's a stay away. Cowboys, Pats, that line, what is it? Like 3.5 right now?
3.5 right now.
And that, like, the Pats, like, said this earlier in the week on the pod. Can't make big plays. Can't block. Can't get stops on defense.
Fumble on the goal line.
Turn the ball over and over again. Lose the turnover advantage every week. Dallas, on the flip side, they make big plays. They're like +8 or +9 in turnovers at this point.
Lead the league in takeaways.
Yeah. All signs point to a Cowboys cover, and yet this is where you get scared of Belichick. It's like what happened with the Bucs 2 weeks ago. Everybody loved the Bucs. Guess who covered? The Pats. So I think that's a stay away. I am not staying away from a Chiefs-Rams tease or parlay. The Chiefs are -6.5 at Washington, who has now just completely offended the karma gods with the Sean Taylor thing. Sean Taylor, one of the most beloved Washington football players the last 25 years. Somebody, my son, who is really into football right
Watching
now.
YouTube.
That's his safety that he's like, with Dad, was this the greatest safety ever? I'm like, well, he died pretty early. Yeah, it could have happened, but
just for the listeners, I mean, really the story is that 3 days in advance, they announced they're retiring Sean Taylor's jersey. And
it's embarrassing.
Jason Wright, the president, came out today on Twitter and was like, no, Bobby Mitchell and Sean Taylor were going to get their jerseys retired this season. We meant to do it, and we apologize for doing it on such short notice, but this is just what we're doing. And like my initial reaction was, that's amazing. They're retiring Sean Taylor. Like, I didn't go to the negatives. And then I saw Twitter and I saw some text in my phone being like, just how shameful is this that they're doing this to cover up the headlines from what's going on with the Gruden stuff. And I'm like, man, I hope that's not the reason, and it's just got an icky feeling to it.
Dan Snyder, limp handshake guy.
Is that right? I've never met him once. Person. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Dead fish handshake. Always a red flag. Chiefs -6.5. They're 2-3. Their defense is an absolute train wreck. I'm not ready to have the what's wrong with Mahomes conversation. If you look at their offense, they're first in DVOA. They're first in first downs. They've scored a ton of points. He's made some bad throws. He doesn't look like he's at the peak of his powers, but this happens in sports sometimes. I'm not ready to be like, what's wrong with Mahomes?
Yeah. It's not Mahomes. And I know he's thrown a bunch of interceptions, and you look at those interceptions, it's, Tyreek Hill drops one off his hands, and sometimes they're forcing it. Last week was a scary game, though, if you're a Chiefs fan, because there was a 4th and 24, and it's the Bills punting, and the Chiefs go off sides, and you're like, what are you going off sides on a 4th and 24 for? And then you have this long rain delay, which in any other situation you'd say, all right, you know what? We got beat up in the first half, but let's go in this rain delay. We're home. We're in our confines. Like, let's put on our music. They're sitting in an ice cold away visitors thing, hour long. And the Bills came out and beat them up and down the field. So they almost beat them in 2 games, it felt like, the first half and the second half. And the defense can't stop anything. That said, I could tell you, I think Washington's having trouble selling tickets this year. I think last week against the Saints, when the Saints are not one of these fan bases that can, it's not the Steelers or the Packers or the Cowboys that just, clean out arenas, but I think there was like 40,000 available tickets or something going into that game. And a lot of Saints fans showed up, and there was who dat chants going on. And This Chiefs fan
It's
base,
rough. It's like the Chargers, but worse.
It kind of is. And this Chiefs fan base does travel.
Yep.
And I think they are looking for a get-right game. You know, I had a very good offensive-minded coach tell me this week because I was like, what's going on with Washington's defense? And we mentioned that, you know, Cousin Sal hit it all offseason. Hey, maybe they're a little overrated about the quarterbacks are playing. It might be this too. You can scheme up. All right, Chase Young is their great defensive end. We can scheme away. We could throw it away from him. We could trip block. We do a bunch of things. Like, there's a way to get by a defensive line. It's when your defensive line is complemented by good linebackers and good defensive backs. The Washington linebackers have not done anything, and their defensive backs are terrible. So you see that Jameis Winston Hail Mary. I mean, that is like 101 type stuff. Bang that down, do something, try to get in the way to Marquez Callaway. They're not doing anything. They can't stop anyone. So you come in with this inferior offense is what they have. And then you have this defense that is now revealing itself. What do you got?
28th in DVOA on defense. Because DVOA now, we've had 5 games. There's enough of a sample size to at least learn a couple things. Now, the Chiefs are 32nd.
Sure, but they're not going up against Buffalo.
I'd rather have the Chiefs offense against a crap defense than the Washington offense against crap defense.
Mahomes, I saw this stat and I tweeted it out. I think he's got 15 passing touchdowns, which leads the league. He's the first quarterback in NFL history to lead the league in touchdown passes 5 weeks through the season and having a losing record. Just tells you how crazy this team has been and how bad on defense it's been. But I don't see Washington, like I did with Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago. We took the Chiefs and we were safe. I don't see Washington being able to keep up with the Chiefs. I think they win. I wouldn't say they're going to win by 10, but I think they win this game.
It's not a must win like it would be in week 16, something like that. But it's kind of a must win because
feels like they need it.
2-4. Now you're messing around because I do think it's going to probably take 10 wins in the AFC.
Let me ask you.
We know the Chargers are good.
But let me put this one to you. If they were to get in the playoffs and say they go 9-8, 9-8, or 10-6,
7 seed,
and they're this, are you picking any team against them? Like, are you worried about the Chiefs going into
teams
Buffalo?
tanking to not get the 2 seed to go against the 7 seed? Yeah.
Like if they have the 7 or the 6 seed and they're, okay, Chiefs at Cleveland, straight up. I don't care if they have 7. Like, are you really taking Cleveland? I don't know. That's the thing. They're still a scary ass team. And
I will say this as somebody who's been gambling for a long time now, since 1990 or 91, I can't remember. And when I was in college, the Patriots were terrible again and gambling became my friend. The most dangerous team is the team. Kyle, you might have to turn the overhead camera on for this one.
Bring them in.
The most dangerous team.
Life lessons.
The most dangerous team to gamble on is the past performance team.
I know.
That you're waiting. No, it's the on-off switch team. And you're judging them by things that happened last year, 2 years ago, and 3 years ago, and this legacy of what they did. We saw this with the Patriots a couple years ago, the last Brady year. Say, it's Brady and Belichick. They'll be fine. What happened? They lose to the Titans in a playoff game. They lose to Miami in week 17.
Yeah, crazy.
And it's like, that's when you get killed. That's when you get killed in boxing and UFC too. It's like, sure. This guy's, and then all of a sudden he's getting knocked out 3 out of 4 times. Well, I think that that's what worries me a little bit with the Chiefs. But Mahomes is so young. It's, it doesn't totally make sense.
I look at them more as like an NBA team and they fuck around in the middle of the January road trip and like, all right, so the LeBron Heat might lose a couple games here and there, but when they need to turn it on, they can. I feel like this is one of those games they need to turn it on.
Well, we just need them to win in what we're doing because the other team we're going to put them with is the Rams. Rams right now is -9.5, which is beautiful. We got it. I didn't want it to go to 10 because that would have been problematic for us. We can do a 7-point tease. -130, have to lay a little bit. So it's basically like 130 to win 100.
Okay.
But it's worth it because we get to take the Rams down to 2.5 against the zombie Giants.
Yeah.
Who have nobody. It's the Wayne Gallman, Mike Glennon show with no receivers. Even Tony, who looked great. Tony was like, every Giants fan's like, oh my God, this Tony trade that we thought we'd get walked away from this QB. This is amazing. Now it looks like he's not going to play. And the Rams need the game because they sucked last week. So it's a perfect storm.
You know why I love you? Because I'm not trying to embarrass you. You were talking to Sal about Wayne Gellman. I think he's on the Falcons. I don't even think he's on the Giants anymore. I think it's
Who's
Booker.
the guy? Who's their running back? Booker?
Booker, but it's like it might as well be Wayne
Booker's
Gellman.
the same thing. Gellman was on the Giants. I'm just old.
Last year. But no, I loved it.
Glenn and Booker. That's even worse.
It's like Glenn and Booker and like Tony. Have you watched Tony at all this season? He's
electric.
He's incredible, but he also punches guys in the face.
But that's why he dropped to the 20th pick, right? He was like, hey, this guy's really talented. He's a handful.
He tweaked his ankle after an incredible like toe drag swag sideline catch, and then he's going nuts and he just headbutts Jabril Peppers on the sideline. And I was like, what? Like, he's the biggest roller coaster ever. The Giants played the Rams last year, and the Rams might have taken the foot off the pedal because the Giants were terrible last year, and the Giants gave them all they can handle. The Rams had their kind of like fall asleep at the wheel game against the Giants last year. I don't think it's going to happen again. They're traveling. Next week, Stafford plays the Lions, but it's not in Detroit. It's in Los Angeles, which is a little different. It's not like the pressure of like going back into that building and having to deal with
We don't need to spend time on this one. It's
Giants.
Chiefs, Rams, super easy.
Let's go.
I feel bad for the Giants because there were signs of friskiness with them.
They are.
I felt like there was something going on with their offense, and Barkley was starting to look like Barkley again. And Danny Dimes, as much of a roller coaster as he is, was actually making a couple things happen.
He was playing
They had
well.
multiple guys going deep. I kind of enjoyed watching them, which is very atypical for the Giants.
As of right now, we're doing this middle of the day on Thursday. There's still a chance that Daniel Jones plays. Like, they're not ruling him out just yet. But even if he does play on that field, I think the Rams just come in there.
That's
and
a farce.
Business.
Like, what are we doing with concussions at that point?
I know.
Daniel, it's been a week. You're fine. Even though you stumbled like a drunk person leaving a bar at 3 a.m. just a week ago. You're fine now. Your brain's totally recovered. Chiefs, Rams. Mark that one down.
Feel good with that.
Straight up. We both like the Browns -3 against the Cardinals. Little comeback game for the Browns. Cardinals would go 6-0 if they won this. Cardinals are at the point now. I've seen a lot of the Cardinals this year. Enough of the Cardinals that Max Williams goes out for the year, Max with 2 X's. And it's oh, that guy's good. Like he was actually like weirdly valuable for them. But one of these weeks, they're not going to have it. I don't know what it is. Kyler was doing some weird thing with his shoulder last week. They're keeping that one quiet. This has the makings of Browns get the lead. Kyler throws 1 pick as he's scrambling around, and then the Browns are fine.
I like the Browns in this one too. I also think that as much as they won the game and their defense stepped up and stopped the 49ers on 5 different 4th down attempts, the 49ers defensive line had its way with the Arizona offensive line. I think Arizona's offensive line might be a little overrated right now. And I think Clowney and those guys, or not Clowney, I'm sorry, Garrett and those guys might have their way with that.
Yeah, Clowney's already hurt. He didn't make it to Halloween.
You and Sal were talking, or was it you and Ryan or House, whatever, talking about the NBA player you mentioned, Pete Maravich and Ben Simmons, the guys that really make very little like big picture impact, but we fascinate. That's Jadeveon Clowney in the NFL. Every offseason, it's like, where's Clowney gonna go? And then we're not talking.
That's
about
so funny you say that. You're right. He is if people missed it, we were talking about what player has gotten way too much attention and conversation for what the actual results were, like impact versus actual hype. And the conclusion we made was Stephon Marbury got the most conversation hype versus what the actual results were. Clowney's a great one. Even last year, it's like, where's Clowney going to go? It's like, Clowney's hurt every year. Who cares where he goes? All right. We both like the Browns. With the Cards,
there is one also cool part. Them. Let me give you a little cool thing with the Browns here. So Baker and Cliff do not have a great relationship. I think it's fine now, but like, Cliff basically was like, we're good without you, Baker. And Baker transferred to Oklahoma from Texas Tech. Now, Cliff will downplay it and say, we're good, we're fine. But I don't think
Baker revenge game?
Yeah, I don't think Baker's looking to lose to Cliff Kingsbury in a game. That's all I'll say.
Both like the Browns. I continue to mourn not having Chubb and Hunt on my fantasy teams. It's the best. You start them together. They each get 20 points. I really miss it. I miss those guys. Raiders +3.5 against the Broncos, we mentioned. I'm not 100% on this one, but I think we should talk about it. Bears +4.5 against the Packers. I like the way the Bears defense looks. I know Fields is hurt. I liked who's the 3rd string running back who looked good last week. Yeah,
Khalil
he's on
Herbert.
One of my fantasy teams. I couldn't remember his name.
You picked up Khalil Herbert?
I did.
Great story. He's a 0-star high school recruit, goes to Kansas, does nothing for 3 years at Kansas, enters the transfer portal. Everyone's like, what? Where are you going? Goes to Virginia Tech, puts up 1,700 yards, gets drafted, and now is starting for the Bears. There you go.
And he was good. He was shifty.
Yeah.
I liked him. Bears defense against Rodgers. There's a real history here. And sometimes teams just, I watch it with Brady. It wouldn't even matter who was on the Dolphins. Something about the Dolphins, every once in a while, they would just get him, but they were always frisky and they were always kind of, and he had that thing with the Giants too. Bears Packers 4.5. I haven't loved what I've seen what the Packers have done. The Bengals have a pretty good defense. I thought they did a nice job against the Packers last week. Aaron Jones is a little banged up. Supposedly he's going to play, but who knows? And I do think the Bears can hang around. My question is this an underdog parlay where we throw it in at plus 180? Or do we just grab the points? Or do we stay away? Those are our 3 options.
Rodgers has such a dominance over this team, especially in Soldier Field over his career. It's hard for me to think that this is the year the Bears are going to get him with a rookie quarterback who might be injured, a third string running back, and whatever they've got going on. And I think, Kyle Brandt hit me a look today and we were talking. He's like, the Bears are 3-2. I'm like, I know it's so weird that this team is 3-2 right now, but that's how they've been winning. They've been getting by and they've been finding contributions for people.
Sometimes they've taken it to Rodgers though. They played him enough times where there's been games where it's like, oh, it's one of these games.
Yes.
And then other times he's up 38-10 against them.
He said that he thinks Peanut Tillman, Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs all should go to the Hall of Fame. That's how good they are. And Urlacher's in, of course, but he respects that defense. He respects that place. But, Randall Cobb, the note I got on him today is Randall Cobb, I think, is 13-2 all time against the Bears. Let's
take him out. I'm going to take him out.
I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't pick against them.
Okay.
That's why we talked this out.
Well, I didn't love it, and I'm glad we went there. But I don't know if you're talking me out of this one. Lions plus 3.5 against the Bengals.
Let's go. Make your case.
The Bengals thing I feel like is very smoke and mirrorsy.
Okay.
Their defense, frisky. You can totally talk me out of this one too. Defense, frisky, no question. The Chase thing is real.
Yep.
He makes a play a quarter that is just like a crazy athlete play. He has a knack of getting open. Burrow is taking a shitload of punishment. I mean, he couldn't use his voice this week in practice.
Lacerated throat or throat contusion, I believe. Throat contusion.
They can't really block for him and they can't really run the ball. And whatever you feel about this Lions team, and even if you look at the advanced metrics for them, it's not great. They're 25th in offense, 29th in defense in DVOA. But they're kind of tough. They're resilient. They don't go away. And they're 2 plays away from being 2-3. They're always kind of hanging around. And I think people would just look at this game and go, oh yeah, Bengals, mark it down. Well, why hasn't the line really moved? Why has it stayed at 3.5? How many chances do the Lions have to win a game? Is this the game you get fired up for? Does Dan Campbell spend the whole week on, we can hit the shit out of Joe Burrow. We're going to hit that guy. You hit that fucking guy. And it just gets everybody fired up. And then they do the kind of like Jared Goff makes 2 plays and all of a sudden it's 14-10 late. Could you see it?
Yeah, I could see it. Look, the coach cried in his post-game press conference, and the conversation Monday was like, all right, we know he loves this team and loves us, but can you really cry in week 5? And then the answer is yes. This guy is just pure emotion, and those guys are buying in. The fact they're in these games, the talent deficiency for the Lions against a lot of these teams is off the charts. There's no reason the Vikings at home should have to escape that game the way they did. The Vikings should blow out that Lions. If you look at the rosters, the same can be said for the Ravens, and yet they fight, and especially in that building at Ford Field. I am with you. Let's go with the Lions. I think coming off that game, off that loss, we'll learn a lot about these guys. But Cincinnati, you can get to Joe Burrow, and this Detroit team, they'll play for that coach.
We should mention
a win.
It's in Detroit.
Yeah.
I think their crowd, I think that Detroit fans like this team. I think they're actually weirdly attached to it. Yeah, they support the coach. I think they're kind of into this. And I guess should the Bengals be 3.5-point favorites over anybody right now when Burrow's already banged up and they can't block?
They also
just played overtime last week.
You nailed it.
2 overtime games.
I spoke to Randall Cobb and we talked, and he was like, I was exhausted after that game. It takes like days to get over that. And that's from the winning side. Now imagine losing that game. The Bengals, they could come in here and it could be a little bit of a slow start for them. Now the Lions, that loss they had last week, I know that people see the score and they're like, wow, they lost at the last second. That's heartbreaking. The coach cried. You and I watched that game. They had no business even being in that game. They were down 16-6 with 3 minutes left. Vikings miss a field goal.
But that's the thing. There's a resiliency with them.
I know. I like it. Like they didn't go away. They didn't just fall apart.
So even if they're down 10 with 5 minutes left, I feel like they get a cheap touchdown. All right, we're going to mark them down.
Let's go.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, one of the best questions I've ever asked you since we started doing this. Are we really going to bet on Geno Smith? That's next. All right, coming back. There's one more straight up game. Seahawks plus 5.5 against the Steelers. Now, I remember writing about this way back when. I think I was the first person who really wrote about this, about how much the line shifts when a quarterback moves. And me and Chad Millman, we actually went to a sports book and got them to give us like what it would be for each QB if they left.
Yeah.
And it was like 9-10 points was the most really for what it would be. So now you have this.
Page 2, you wrote this article? I love that.
Yeah, way back when.
I gotta find it.
When. It's in there somewhere. So now you have this Seahawks-Steelers game, which is in Pittsburgh. And granted, the Steelers aren't any great shakes, but you figure if Wilson's playing, this line would be like, I think Steelers 2.5, Steelers by 2, something like maybe Steelers 1.5. It's only 5.5. So Vegas is basically saying we think Russell Wilson is worth 4 points more than Geno Smith, which I'm stunned by. I was also stunned by, I think they can win the game with Geno Smith. It's not like their defense is that good. If you look at, the DVOA stuff and some of the advanced stuff about the Seattle D, and you talk to their crazy fans, they're 5th in offense this year. They're 25th in DVOA. Mm-hmm. So naturally you go, well, they'll be worse without Wilson. That should drop a lot. I don't like the Steelers team. I don't know why you would. I think Ben, he looked a little better last week, made a couple of plays, but he still puts a few up for grabs. It's a must win for Seattle. They can't lose another one.
No, they can't. And they've had 10 days to prepare. Geno looked great last week. He
made one mistake. Granted, the mistake was he threw the ball 15 yards over somebody's head for an interception at the end of the game. But whatever. It still was an overthrow.
He played well. He came in hot and played fine. And then I look at that defense, that Seahawks defense, which is on pace to be historically the worst defense in the history of the sport yards-wise. I look at Jamal Adams, who is the highest paid safety in the league and was embarrassed last Thursday night and has no sacks and very few tackles for a loss this season. It's one of those games. It's like a gut check game. It's under the lights. It's going to be in Pittsburgh. I think Heinz Field will be rocking. Like I get the feeling that they're back in, but I also get the feeling that fan base might be like, oh shit, if Ben struggles early. And this one could be one of those where the Seahawks come in there, keep it close and steal it late. I watched that Denver Pittsburgh game last week. And although he threw a nice deep pass early, I didn't come away from that being like, oh, Ben's back and the Steelers have fixed their problems. If anything, Najee Harris finally got going and they were focusing on him more. But I would not feel so confident in the Steelers just because they're home and they won last week.
Let's go through their 5. Right. Buffalo, weird game. We're throwing that game out. I think that's the weird week 1 result. Mm-hmm. Week 2, lose to Vegas convincingly. Week 3, lose to Cincinnati convincingly. Week 4, lose to Green Bay pretty convincingly. Week 5, they beat this Denver team that, as we discussed earlier, we don't think is good.
Yeah.
So not sure they should be laying this many points against a decent team that needs to win. And I guess the question for me with Seattle is like, if they lose this game, even with Geno Smith, now, unless it's Geno Smith just murdered us and we can't win with this guy.
Yeah.
But this is supposed to be a good team with a good coach and good veteran players. And it's a kind of game you rally around. It's a kitchen sink game.
It really is.
This is if Tyler Lockett can throw a pass on a double reverse to somebody, this is the game you do it. And if they can't come close to winning this, then cross them off for the year, I think.
I think it's a big game for the Steelers too. So it's one of those deals. Steelers go 2-4 in the AFC, which is loaded right now.
But they're not good though. Do you think they're good?
I don't know. I picked them before the season to compete and be a wild card team. I just think they have enough great defensive players to hang around in games. But the way they beat Denver last week, like that's how they have to play. I don't know if they could do that every week. I don't know if Najee Harris behind that offensive line can run for 140 yards again. So
are we sure their defense is good?
I think it's 19th,
good. 19th in DVOA. 19th in DVOA right now, and that's a pretty big sample size.
I think Cam Hayward, Minka, and when Watt is healthy and Bush are healthy, those guys are great.
Okay.
Like, I would like the Seahawks with the points. I don't know if I would take them straight up, but I think it's going to be closer than you might expect.
I like the
Seattle.
Seahawks.
Let's go.
I like them with the points. It's funny because when Geno came in and it was clear Wilson might be hurt, then it comes out Wilson has broken finger. My immediate reaction was, this is amazing. We get to bet on Geno Smith. I don't want to bet against him in this spot. I think he's going to make a couple plays. Where I want to bet against him is when it's like they're -8 against Detroit at home. It's like, oh, lock that down. They'll kill Detroit. And that's the game when he'll have like 4 turnovers.
You know what's crazy? Geno Smith's now been in the league like 9 years. And
I know.
He was with the Jets. He was with the Giants. Like his old teammates like love that guy.
Like,
yeah. He's one of those guys you want in the room. And when he went in the game, if you saw the social media outpouring from a lot of people in the NFL, like ex-players and current players, it was like, hell yeah, Geno, go get them. Like, I think they might rally around him too. I think this might be like, this is just Geno's game. Let's go win one for Geno too. And let's go do something with this guy. I don't know. I would like the Seahawks in this one. Let's go.
Just going to ask you quickly about Panthers Vikings, which I didn't give you on a list because I'm not sure the Panthers are good. And you look at their offensive DVOA stuff and some of their first down stats and things like that. It's pretty rough. Darnold looks like he's regressing. McCaffrey's 50-50, which is the reason I stayed away.
That's it.
I don't want to have the Panthers and then he doesn't play. I don't want to go against the Panthers and he does play. So it's a stay away. But I like Minnesota in that game. I'm not going to bet it though.
McCaffrey's everything. And until we know his status, even if he does play, he might only play so many snaps. Like I would stay away. I've got Greg Joseph as the visual behind me for those looking online.
Our MVP.
That guy has given us so many thrills, and yet we've been on the right side of betting for and against him every time. I'd rather not be involved with the Greg Joseph experience. I'd stay away from the Vikings altogether. Underdog parlay of the week. We hit in week 1. We've lost our last 4. The goal is to hit this 4 times during the year and we make money. Our candidates this year, Bears plus 180, or this week, Bears plus 180 Packers, Lions plus 162, Seahawks plus 194, and Raiders plus 152. So I think the Raiders should be part of this. Let's go. I'm in with that.
Bears, Lions, or Seahawks for the other piece.
Let's go Lions. We talked ourselves into that. Let's go Lions.
All right, so we're going Lions, Raiders. All right, we said Lions, Raiders. Plus 575.
Wow. Let's see.
Little tasty. It's a tasty morsel. All right, it's time. It's time. Let's do it. I feel like we're pretty confident this week. I like this week.
These Sundays have been quite a roller coaster. This one feels like it's going to be a nice, easy Sunday.
$1 million picks, week 6. We are up 1.043 million for the season through 5 weeks. First bet, we're going to do a little 7-point teaser. Minus 130 vig. We got to lay on this one. But we think it's going to be worth it. Chiefs minus 6.5. Rams minus 9.5 down to 2.5. Chiefs will basically be even. How much are we putting on this? We going big? We go big? We went $700K last week and it hit.
That Vikings game almost gave us a heart attack.
Yeah, true. Fair. All right, so we're going to put $780K to win 600.
Okay.
On the Chiefs plus 0.5 and the Rams down to 2.5. Straight up. Browns Cardinals. What do you think? 250?
Lower.
Browns minus 3. Lower? 200?
Yeah.
All right. Browns Cardinals minus 3. We're taking the Browns 200K on that one. Raiders Broncos, same or a little lower? 150?
Same. This week is weird week. Let's
all right.
Let's have a nice easy one where we just win every bet.
I like it. 200K on the Raiders playing for themselves. Playing for them. Plus 3.5 over Denver. Then we have the Seahawks plus 5.5 against the Steelers. We're going to put 200K on them. Geno, you're our papa this week.
It's the Geno Smith game.
It's a Geno Smith game. Lions Bengals plus 3.5. Are we betting on this or are we just putting it? Oh, hey,
What do you
stay
think?
away. Stay away. Let's stay
do
away.
it. No, let's do it.
All right. 200K Lions plus 3.5 over the Bengals. I like this. We have some good dogs here. And then the underdog parlay of the week. The Lions and the Raiders plus 575. We're going to put 33K on that as well.
Great.
Do you want to scale down the Raiders and the Lions to a little less on the actual straight ups?
Yeah,
or keep it?
because we're putting them in the parlay. Yeah, let's scale them out in a little bit in the straight up.
All right, so we'll put 150 on the Lions plus 3.5, and I want to keep the Raiders at plus 3.5. I think they.
Bill, you know what? Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Those were the $1 million picks for week 6.